with you guys. Here we go. Hello, and welcome to Transformations Cafe, where we're serving light as bold as love. I'm your host, Ken Marks. Transformations Cafe is brought to you by the Institute for Global Transformation. We're a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization. Our vision is a world working together to utilize the power, love, and wisdom of higher consciousness to benefit humanity and the planet. And our mission is to support transformations in consciousness and in the way humanity interacts with one another so as to bring about positive change in the world, individually and collectively. We invite you to please visit our website, which is theglobaltransformation.org. If you'd like to become part of our community, we have free and paid membership options, and there's a join button at the top of each page. And if you'd like to support our work, including programs like this one, there is a donate button at the top of each page that will take you straight through to PayPal. This program is being recorded and will be published on IFGT's YouTube channel in the near future. I want you to please note that if you do choose to participate in the conversation, live audience members, we will accept this as your implied consent to appear in that publication. We also invite you and everyone watching this in the future to subscribe to our channel and click that bell icon to make sure you're notified whenever new content is published on our channel. Our live audience is invited to participate in this conversation. This is not just a passive interview program, but we invite the audience members to be part of this conversation. So if you want to come on camera with our guest today, please type the letter Q in the chat. That will be my indication, your indication to me, excuse me, that you want to come on live. Otherwise, if you prefer, you can type your question in the chat and we'll read as many of those as we can get to. Now, on today's program, we're going to continue what we've been doing the last several in terms of conversations about what is referred to spiritually as the wisdom or the ancient wisdom, sometimes also called the perennial philosophy or wisdom. I am ridiculously excited about today's program for a number of reasons, not the least of which are our guests who I'm going to introduce shortly. We're going to be discussing a topic I don't think we've covered before in this program, which is health and healthcare and the relationship of the wisdom to it. And it's a beautiful way of seeing how the wisdom does just completely intersect with all aspects of our everyday life and affairs. So, oops, sorry about that. Please note that we had originally scheduled this program for last August, but Mother Nature had other plans, sent a hurricane my way, and so we had to cancel. So I also want to publicly thank our guests for the courtesy and the flexibility in rescheduling so that we could make sure that we help share your very, very exciting and important work with as many people as we can help get the word to. I'd also like to share quickly that in preparation for the program, I found another interview with our guests about this same book. And so I first want to encourage everyone that sees this to please get the book. It's the most impressive way to become more familiar with what we're going to just be really scratching the surface on today. But if you want to see another relatively recent interview, which I'll try not to cover the same things at all, it's by an organization I unfortunately hadn't heard of before, but they've been around since the 70s, Banyan Books and Sound out of Canada. And it's hosted by a gentleman named Ross McKeechee, and that can be found on YouTube and also podcast apps. So with that, I'd love to introduce our guests, Dr. Amit Goswami and Dr. Valentina Onisor, and they're joining us live today from India. So good evening to you, morning to the rest of us who are all, I believe, in the United States. So we're going to be talking about their book, Quantum Integrative Medicine, which is subtitled A New Paradigm for Health and Disease Prevention and Healing. And I have suddenly lost my screen, so we're going to have to edit something here and see how I can get back to my script.
Escape.
Escape? Okay. Thank you. Perfect. Appreciate that. All right. So let me read the title again, and maybe we can edit this better. The book title is Quantum Integrative Medicine, A New Paradigm for Health, Disease Prevention, and Healing. And now I'm going to read bios, which are a little long, but very important that we get a good background of our guests, and then we'll start the conversation. So I'd first like to introduce Amit Goswami, PhD, who is a retired professor from the physics department at the University of Oregon, where he was faculty from 1968 to 1997. He is a renowned pioneer of the new paradigm of quantum science based on the primacy of consciousness. In 2009, Amit started a movement called quantum activism, now gaining ground in North and South America, Europe, and India. At the same time, he has also established the Center for Quantum Activism, or CQA, with headquarters in the United States. In 2019, he and his collaborators established an educational wing of CQA called Quantum Activism Vishwalayam, which translates to Home of the World, acting as Department of Science at the University of Technology in Jaipur, India, and developed a master's and PhD program, which we just learned earlier before we started recording, is about to graduate its first PhD recipient, and we'll congratulate her in a moment. But this PhD program is in quantum science of health, prosperity, and happiness, and an international program of transformative education. And I am tempted to apply to this, and we may want to invite both of you back to talk about that program, because the wisdom also talks about bringing the wisdom into all of our kind of standard existing curricula in higher education, at least now. And so I think what we're witnessing through your program, from the little bit I understand, is that this is now coming into form already through your work. So it's another fascinating topic, and so we, if you're willing, we may wish to have you come back to discuss that as well. Dr. Goswami has written over 25 groundbreaking popular books, at least by my count, that I found on a website, which are based on research, quantum science, and consciousness. And before we end today, I would just invite each of you to share any of the other titles that you want to emphasize about your work and with our audience. Dr. Goswami was also featured in the movie, which was very popular some years back, What the Bleep Do We Know?, and documentaries titled The Dalai Lama Renaissance and the Quantum Activist. Amit is a spiritual practitioner and calls himself a quantum activist in search of wholeness. I don't think I've heard of a nicer title and identity in my life. That's just beautiful. Our other guest is Valentina R. Onisor, MD. Valentina is a practicing physician, a pioneer of quantum integrative medicine, specializing in family medicine. What makes her practice so unusual, at least in my experience, is that she integrates alternative medicine with her allopathic training and practice with various systems of complementary medicine, including acupuncture, Ayurveda, naturopathy, homeopathy, and aromatherapy into her practice. Committed to consciousness awakening related sciences for over 2 decades, Valentina is also a yoga and meditation teacher. She has developed, together with Dr. Goswami, the transformative practice of quantum yoga that integrates quantum science with the traditional spiritual practices in the program. As a leader in transformational education, Valentina serves as a director of educational programs at the Center for Quantum Activism in the US and is faculty at the Department of Quantum Science, University of Technology, Jaipur, India. She's also the co-founder of Quantum Activism Vishwalayam in India. She's a lecturer at the Quantum Academy, while I butcher this title, in Brazil at the Fundación Iclobe and Zarpe Institute in Spain. Additionally, Valentina is currently offering a number of courses and workshops oriented towards healing and spiritual transformation all over the world. Her work has been featured in various interviews and radio shows, so now having her join us on Transformations Cafe is such an honor. She's co-authored many books with Dr. Goswami, and again, I invite you both at the end of the conversation to share any particular titles. So with that, formally welcome you. So grateful to have you here. So excited to talk with you. It is just a pleasure. The last thing I'll say by way of introduction is IFGT is also very, very grateful and honored to have had Dr. Goswami serve on our advisory council for many years. And our founder and president, Marianne Miller, interviewed Dr. Goswami a few years back, and that recording is also available on our YouTube channel. So with that, welcome to you both.
Thank you.
So I want to see if we can start talking about the book. There's so much good information in here. I'll try to stay organized and then just let you present, because that's really what this is all about. But I thought we'd first start out and just asking you, why did you write the book?
Well, it is very simple. I did do some preliminary research on the integration of alternative and regular medicine and wrote a book called Quantum Doctor. That was some time ago, published in 2004. But then, Valentina came in my life about 7 years ago. And she being an MD doctor and having the same kind of interest of integrating it, she was already doing it. And she's also a spiritual practitioner like me, believer in transformation, which is rather rare these days. Not that rare, but still. So I was just super delighted to ask her immediately if she would like to work with me, and she agreed. And so it took us some years to get all the things together, but really, you were asking what the book is for. It's really, for the first time, I believe, a theory of health. Allopathy is not really a theory-based science. It's an evidence-based science. As you know, pharmaceuticals, they do various medicines, they develop it, and they do a trial. If it works, then only. So it's an evidence-based medicine. Without that trial, no drug is reliable about what it's going to do. They do some basic guesswork to suppress various body functions, but that's it. Trial and error is the only one. Don't have any real theory except germ theory, of course. That was some time ago. That is a valid theory. Other than that, not much theory. So we are filling up a gap. We are really developing a theory, not only of alternative medicine or not only integrating ideas, but we now really have a theory of the human body. I mean, this is such a tremendous thing. If science today was not such a political enterprise, that it does not really look at any alternative than believers of scientific materialism, everything is matter. So they would not look at our book. But it's very unfortunate, because if they did, they would find that we really have a theory how the human body and physiology works. It involves non-material substances, of course. This is why materialists are against it. But materialist science is not a valid science, really, for the human being, because we know that we have spirituality. We know that we have consciousness. We are experiencer of the world. And matter is only an object. So it can never produce a science for us, because we are not an object. We're just not an object. We are an object, yes, but we are also a subject of experience. And so when we put this into the equation, we can develop a theory of medicine based on not just one material body, but 5 bodies of the human being. That includes feeling, thinking, intuitions, and the spiritual self. All of this, besides matter. So it's a complete theory of how health works, complete theory how to take care of health. A prevention can be now offered because we know how things get disease, and also healing. We have a new way of creative healing that is only quantum physics can offer. Valentina, you have something more?
Yeah. So just to, now it's warming up, and then we can go on this topic forever, because we are very passionate about this, Actually, you will see later, we'll talk maybe about the archetypes and the meaning and purpose of life eventually, which in quantum science, that ultimate archetype is called wholeness. Wholeness, to be whole, So it's for everybody who really wants to integrate all these dichotomies, all the contradictions in our life eventually. And that's the part of quantum science, actually. It's the part of Krishna, maybe you heard, So it's not that part of renunciation. I was all the time, all my life, I grew up in a family of doctors and priests. And this interest towards health and spirituality was all the time very, very active. But then as I was doing my specialties in conventional medicines, and also in parallel, I was able to do this other specialties on Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and so on, together with practices of meditation and others. But I saw that actually both kind of practitioners, alternative medicine and allopathic practitioners, they are equally scornful towards each other, So it's a deep division among the practitioners of these camps, and how to get to an integral medicine that both camps would accept, So that's why you have to go to the roots, the philosophical roots, if you want, of all the medicine practices, and to discover this unifying bridge building philosophy, which is quantum science, actually. And the other thing is that conventional medicine is kind of forced to stay disease-centered, So some prevention guidance is given. My father was a preventive medicine specialist, between others, But still, it's a guidance which only covers the physical symptoms and the physical body. Not more than that. And we are by far not just that. This is important to understand in any deep process of healing, that we are not just the physical body, and start from there,
Yes, and I hope we will be able to share with our audiences in more detail about this, because it is the bridge that the quantum sciences provide that does make this a new theory. I do want to ask, though, about the book itself, because in reading it, I found that it seems to me that you had multiple audiences in mind. So who were you aiming this book at? Who were you hoping would read it?
Well, we want really everybody to read it, but of the specialists that we want to invite to read, of course, mainly medicine doctors, both alternative and traditional medicine, mainstream medicine. But we also want psychologists to be very interested, because, when you really think about health, all the 5 bodies contribute. It's not just the health of the physical body or health of the emotional body. It's not like that. Emotions affect the mind, mind affects emotions, mind affects the matter affects the mind, so everything gets mixed up. And most of all, the spirit, which you usually think something airy-fairy, only you do for spiritual happiness, that kind of thing, or enlightenment. No, spirit is very important for our health. Spiritual health is a very important component of psychological as well as the physical health. So that being the case, we are very much into inviting everyone. And that involves biologists, because biologists give the basis, physiological basis of the human body. They should know that their physiological basis is extremely incomplete, because they don't consider the vital morphogenetic field, as Rupert Sheldrake calls them, their contribution. And consciousness, when consciousness is the ground of being, these things can be included without dualism. Many people, many of the allopathic scientists, they get sidetracked by this usual criticism that matter cannot interact with non-matter. But that is so much of a problem that has been solved by me 30 years ago. The first thing I did when I wrote Self-Aware Universe is to show that there is no dualism once we take the idea of consciousness and quantum physics into account. Because in quantum physics, objects are possibilities for consciousness to choose from. So both mind and matter can exist as possibilities for consciousness to choose. This is an idea called psychophysical parallelism. And therefore, consciousness can embody any of its ideas including mind, including archetype, including morphogenetic fields, which gives rise to feeling. All of this can be included parallelly with matter and embodied in matter. So biology is an embodiment of ideas of consciousness in matter. And this is the new biology, quantum biology that we have formulated. Similarly, we have quantum psychology because consciousness embodies the mind, embodies the feelings, morphogenetic fields, which are the blueprints of feelings, into the human body. Spirit, of course, is embodied as our self, and that's the basis of our experiencing everything. So the one that gets sick, who is the one that is getting sick? That's spirit embodied in the human body and the brain. So all these things we can include, and without including these things, how can you even talk about being sick or having disease? Who is having the disease? We are having the disease. That we is outside the province of scientific materialism. That's the sad thing that they do not understand.
My question was a little rhetorical intentionally because I wanted to provide a platform for you to explain this. I will share with the audience that there is a considerable section in the book speaking to healers. And so I think the book certainly can be and should be consumed by general audiences, but it certainly could also be a formal text and part of the curriculum for all sorts of health practitioner training programs. Not the least of which would be allopathic or DO training programs in this country and in the West. So a very blatant plug, because I think this is the way that we advance consciousness, and in this aspect, consciousness's role with our health and healthcare. So there's plenty of information in the book how each of us individually can address our own health and the quality of our life, really, because there's so much of this that you speak to. I don't want to get out of this conversation without talking about one of the things that I thought was just most inspiring was the role of love in all of this. So we'll come back to that. Dr. Onisor, did you have anything you wanted to add, though, in terms of how you might hope to see this book being used since you formally practice in the community?
Yeah, I think it is really written for people who know about medicine, so I think it's really, first of all, it's dedicated to the people who are into health and psychology, first of all. But there may be others who have studied, because you have to study a little bit. So it requires a little bit of study on at least the anatomy, and at least having a little bit of knowledge on medicine, I think. But otherwise, it's also, for me, medicine, as you said, love also, and spirituality, for me, they go in the same direction. So it's not the contradictions. Also for people who want to transform, because eventually a disease or a sufferance is a reflection of what's happening at the spiritual level as well, So we are not separated compartments. That's actually this separation inside of us, and also the separation that we create from others. This is, I would say, as the main problems which create so many disturbances nowadays in the individual itself, but also in the society, so where separation, it's the world of the ego. And then obviously the disease will manifest eventually after it's been at some point, at the other levels, at the other bodies, eventually will manifest also in the physical body to just tell you, hello, wake up, because again, we are loved, So for me, all these are messages of transformation, the disease. So again, and from this perspective, it can address to everybody who wants to transform. Because you cannot, I know people, because I grew up again a lot with various spiritual traditions as well. And I was very passionate to practice. And on some spiritual paths, they are kind of neglecting a lot the physical body, for example, They are not treating it well, mistreating it, and crossing the limits which they shouldn't cross, just overcoming the ego. Let's kill the ego. Not that, no, you have in the first step is to become authentic. A lack of authenticity will create disease. I know this also from my experience, Eventually, especially as a woman, you get to suffer and to suppress and repress, and then eventually again the body is intelligent. There's so much wisdom and so much complexity in this body, in every single thing, it's like a whole universe really in one being. And all there has such a wisdom, which I would say that you find this wisdom if you put yourself in connection with nature. And again, nowadays we live in a world where we are so much in the do mode. We are only doing and thinking, but we don't allow ourselves time to just be really, and let these things cook inside of us and get to the world of inspiration, intuition. We don't live in this creative way. And then obviously this is, as a message of love from the consciousness, please wake up, do something. This life is precious.
Thank you. So I think it might be helpful if we can describe a few terms that you use in the book to help our audiences kind of understand what the major elements of your model or theory are, and then how they integrate. And you've hinted at some of them already. Hopefully we will get back to the discussion of archetypes, but Dr. Goswami, you referenced the 5 bodies. And for those who are also tuning in because of the interest in the wisdom, this is very much a part of the wisdom teaching about subtle or esoteric anatomy. And it's been something that has been not really accepted in the West for a while. And Dr. Onisor is sharing a graphic that helps describe those bodies. So why don't we, I guess, start with maybe that in terms of the relationship of, say, allopathic medicine, and then the Eastern medicines, Ayurvedic and Chinese. You talk quite a bit about that, and then quantum science and how these all integrate, including these subtle bodies. So please go forward.
Okay, so think of the physical body as the hardware, because this computer language is now so familiar with, that's the language we use. So think of the physical body as hardware. Then the question is how this hardware gets to function in a way that hardware cannot usually function. It has to be programmed to function, do the functions that we actually need the hardware to do. So that's where consciousness has to embody its ideas. Just like in the computer, the hardware, the electronics cannot really do anything that we want to do. So we have to use our mind to generate software so that computer can then perform certain functions, mental functions, that otherwise would not be able to do. So the job of the vital is to act as a blueprint so that the material body learns how to do certain biological functions, how it gets its physiology. So hardware has 2 components: the body itself, the organs, and their physiology. And the physiology cannot be explained on the basis of the movement of the hardware itself. To explain the physiology, we have to understand that there are non-material software. This software has been proved to be epigenetic. Initially, materialists thought genes can explain everything, but now experiments have shown that no, the software cannot come from the genes. Where does it come from? Rupert Sheldrake suggested the solution. It comes from organizing fields that he called morphogenetic fields. Now, they not only organize the form, which is the meaning of morpho, but also functions. So we call them morpholiturgical fields in our science. We have not really used that term in the quantum integrative medicine because morphogenetic field is now such a famous word, and we like Rupert's word. So, we use that. So that's the vital body. Vital body gives us all the morphogenetic fields that are used by the body to get the software. That's the vital body. Vital body is the software generating the physiology of the physical organs, okay? And then we have the mental body, but mind does something else also. Mind gives meaning to everything. So mind gives meaning, and that meaning is generated in the computer. That's we know already. Our usual computer just computes mental meaning. But same thing with the brain. Our computer that brain is, mind generates all the thinking, meaning of what that brain can do. So we use the brain to generate meaning for us. Now, mind also can give meaning to the vital energy as well. So that's what we call emotion. And emotions, are very, very, very important for health, because some of the emotions are negative, because mind gives negative meaning to those feelings, because there is an element of dislike with those feelings. And so this wrong meaning sometimes it is really wrong. Namely, a tiger comes into view, and that's really, really wrong. That's really, really a wrong thing to come, and therefore you must fly. We must run away. But a boss comes into our vision, or a wife comes to our vision. That's not really, really wrong. That's wrong because I think it's wrong. Because I think that it might be a matter, an invitation to something not so pleasing. And so that's what creates stress, emotional stress. And that's a major component of disease. And then next comes the spirit. Spirit comes to us via these intuitions, archetypes, love, beauty, justice. Now, these things are our safeguard. With the help of love, this is really the most important work we presented in quantum integrative medicine, that with love, we can elevate the physiology of all the organs at the heart chakra, as well as the organs in the navel chakra. And our latest discovery, which is not in the book, but it will be in the future book, is that same thing we can do with the midbrain. But I won't go into that because that's not in the book. But this is really fantastic new information. If you can bring love in your life, this is why we are always talking about transformation. It requires a certain transformation, but capacity is already built into us in some way. It's just that we don't pay attention to it. Everybody can fall into romantic love. It's not that airy-fairy, but we don't do even the requisite attention to the process of falling in love. Instead, under the materialist, we just pay so much attention to the word sex that creates only stress and so eventually disease. Love is a tremendous improvement of the physiology of both the heart and the immune system. And that almost guarantees that the biggest bugaboo of our health, cancer and heart disease, can be eliminated. Of course, there is other disease, so those are not the only disease. There is also type 2 diabetes in the navel, but you can eliminate that by awakening of the navel. And Alzheimer can be eliminated by paying attention to the brow chakra, to the brain, and so forth. So this is why we call it so much of a preventive medicine. If we can just do these things, when we can do this until even when I started in my midlife. I was not privy to any of this knowledge before I started to change from doing physics the old way to doing physics the new way. So for me, life began at 40. And for many people, life can begin at 40 and it can still be healthy. So long as you initiate your practices for good health, it's almost any age works, but my guess is Valentina agrees with me, at about 60 maybe, one should wake up before that.
Oh, darn. That was wonderful. And Dr. Onisor, before I ask for your thoughts about this, because Dr. Goswami touched on some of these things, but I want to see if I can synthesize some things and confirm with you that I'm understanding correctly. Mm-hmm. What the role of the quantum sciences brings to the theory is the primacy of consciousness, meaning that consciousness is everything. What the wisdom also teaches us through all its versions is that the most fundamental part of consciousness and therefore ourselves is love. That when many different traditions and individuals say, everybody that you read about that's had at least a positive near-death experience, for instance, for example, that love is one of the most overwhelming aspects of those experiences. So the universe is love. So we're not talking only about romantic love, but the way that when we get in touch then in terms of our health with that fundamental aspect of everything, including our part of being part of everything, and we really understand and open up to that energy of love, that then has very direct relation to our health. And as you were referring to, Dr. Goswami, and if you want to talk a little bit about this, either of you, the actual role that can have with the immune system, and the immune system is what causes so much of disease when it doesn't work correctly, including what you mentioned already, cancer. And so let me just ask you to comment on that, please.
Okay, very briefly. Oh, Helen, you want to do it? That's fine.
Yeah, so again, you were saying that you want to underline these principles, correct, with the consciousness, but it's again, love is something which nowadays people are so much using this word without knowing what is, first of all. And we speak about really brains, at the level of Manipura chakra, the abdominal area, it's an abdominal brain. Without this abdominal brain, you cannot really engage into love. You cannot, because you need to have a certain self-respect and then self-love as well. And women, usually we're born with the capacity, to love. But again, we are not using it because we don't have the fire in the belly. We don't have the self-love, the self-respect, which has to be developed. It's really brain for me. It has already been proved, and then how to take care of this brain. So we have this brain that we will talk about, in the abdominal area, in the heart area, and then here, and then it's even here, but this was not so much proven scientifically yet. And then the key point is to see that there is a possibility, of elevated physiology for the organs in the navel and the heart areas, which has been available to humanity for millennia. And this higher physiology has kept us away from chronic disease like cancer, but this is changing because the faulty worldview, again, people are getting separated, as I said, and not so much with love and lifestyle, of course, and then there's a lot of what we call in Ayurveda ama, a lot of toxins, we are so much in sedentarism living, so it's physiology that conventional medicine assumes is not right to this extent, and human physiology is not a given unchangeable one either. So we have rediscovered the mechanism of changing the physiology of organs in detail, actually, and we call it vital creativity. And this is what we will speak about, I guess, later, because it is very important. And then about love, so it's of course, it's when we speak about the archetypes and meaning of life, there are so many songs that even they are saying in the melancholic way, which is not so much love, but they're saying, I'm nothing without love. It's true, so I think we start being a human, when we really develop the heart, the potential at the heart level, It's also in the Christian tradition, you have the cross, not by coincidence, you make the cross at the level of the heart, So we speak about instinctual levels below the heart, if you want, the first chakras, and then higher levels, starting with the heart. The heart is a place where you can integrate a lot, but it's not just a physical heart, it's deeper. In various traditions, you find it called a spiritual heart, or anyway, a gate to a supramental experience. And that's the place of healing, yes. So if you tap into the supramental level through the heart, that's where kind of we should learn how to live, especially if we have various chronic diseases, to doing anything that implies the creative process of healing using vital creativity. And again, a lot of vital creativity that implies also pranayama. You have to be able to use this simple way of breathing and activating prana in your body if you want to heal. And then again, supramental level. So that means that you're not so much caught into the blah, blah, blah of the monkey mind, So it's a supramental level, which is it means that you are integrating the heart and mind in a superior understanding.
Through practices like meditation, for instance.
Yeah.
But and creativity.
That's why I said creativity in the healing arena. And again, meditation has to be done after you reach a little bit of dharana, is called concentration. This is the first level, attention. Without attention, you cannot engage in creativity, you know? And then you have to learn something which allows you to have access to vital creativity and become aware what is the cause of all those things. And yes, you can. So as long as you breathe, you can. The chance of complete healing is there.
Can you define vital creativity in case people aren't familiar with that term?
Yeah, Amit or me?
Okay, let me do it. There is the vital energy. That's a new concept. We mentioned morphogenetic fields before. They're needed for differentiating the organs. And when this consciousness uses these morphogenetic fields to embody its ideas into matter. For example, survival is an idea. So we create digesting organs as a means of survival, but the physiology, as I said before, matter has no idea about how to survive. That idea has to come from consciousness. Consciousness injects the idea of surviving through digestion by introducing these morphogenetic fields. So they are used as blueprint to make genes, to make proteins, to perform appropriate functions like digestion. Once you understand this, then of course it's very easy to see that digestion is not just a matter of taking care of food, but it's also a matter of taking care of what is generating the software, namely the vital energies. So this is the thing that more and more people have to understand, that we have to take care of the vital energies. These vital energies, then how to take care of this? You'll be amazed to know that this is the millennia-old problem and millennia-old solution exists. The Chinese figured it out, the Indians figured it out, and the Chinese talk about the easiest of language. They call it establish yin, yang balance. What is yang? Yang is the ready-made software that you're using at the moment, but you have to have potentialities because the environment is constantly changing. Right now, I'm talking with you. At the next moment, something can happen that puts me in a mental stress, emotional stress, and that the body then has to change its software. That potentiality has to come from the in. So unless the in has a lot of potentiality so that it can come to my rescue in that moment of emotional stress, I'm stuck. Now, so the wisdom that the Chinese gave is that there has to be a modicum of balance between available potentiality and what is actually being used. In available potentiality, or what we call creative potentiality, and yang. So vital creativity is the way that we establish not only this balance, we even bring in new vital potentialities, because when you have a disease, then the existing potentialities may not be enough. We really have to creative and invite new morphogenetic fields, generate new potentialities, activate them, embody them, and then healing. So all of this is the territory of vital creativity. And there is a process that you follow. Let Valentina talk about more.
Yeah, thanks. And again, vital creativity is definitely my arena, and I'm just finishing a PhD on this topic, by the way. So, yeah, and yes.
No, and thank you for doing that work too.
Again, when we talk about vital creativity, we have to understand the reality of the chakras, and not just with the mind. Then we get to practice, you know. So again, no matter, even if we are in a wheelchair, you know, we still can practice the things. When first of all, you have to understand them, but then also do certain practices. And vital creativity's first objective actually is to strengthen the heart chakra. You talk about love, yeah, and make it as independent of the brain as possible. And that's possible again as we integrate the two, the navel and the heart. Yeah, so we all have them, whether we know about this or not, because we may say, I don't know about this. So what? We are all sitting on this, it's like treasures that we are sitting on those, And again, the first priority is again to strengthen the heart, to purify the heart level if we need to work through forgiveness, and we might have to, because that's the first step, to work with forgiveness with the things that we really are constricting our consciousness when we think about them. But then eventually forgiveness has to be worked on also on the things that you promised that you will do, but you're not doing. So we have to eventually do it on a daily basis, or very often at least. And again, as the heart chakra is purified and we strengthen it through various ways, and again, it has to be independent of the brain, because the brain will always throw these negative emotional brain circuits. If you're so much in the thinking mode, only thinking, you will be dominated by the brain, and there are so many studies in neuroscience nowadays that the negative emotional brain circuits in the brain, they are 5 times stronger than the positive ones. And the positive ones you don't get unless you connect with the physical body and with your heart, That's the thing. And then you have to create it, make this effort. It is an effort that we have to do, but not a tensed effort. It's not like that, yeah. But it's a responsibility that we all have. And then as we strengthen the heart and the navel together, then the second priority is to raise the energy and do it gradually, yeah, to raise it from the lower levels. Also the lower levels, the lower chakras are very important. It's not by coincidence that we have everything, even the sexual area, in Christian tradition, they say everything is holy, just not the sexuality, which is totally nonsense, because with that energy you make babies, how can that not be important, So we are living so much into dominated by shame, and fear, which is again the lowest chakra. So then eventually we get to speak about the chakras if you want. And the creative process, so no matter what the practices of vital creativity you have, Tai Chi, Qigong, Hatha Yoga, but again, you have to know what you're doing there. You have to learn how to set up an intent, how to use it as a creative process. And then we call it do, be. This Amit came with this, the Frank Sinatra song.
Do.
And so again,
Fun part of the book.
Feelings of vital energy that you can perceive them as currents, tingles, or warmth, or just expansion of consciousness at the level of the chakras, with a little bit of practice. And it's different if you want. When you talk about chakras, I think I will let Amit to talk about that if you want, and I can project the picture so people can get at least an idea, and especially how this relates immediately to the organs, to the organ functions, but also to that elevated physiology that exists at the level of the chakras, and especially in those 3 areas where we speak about brains, yeah. And then Kundalini Shakti, if you want, so we can discuss, because we have a certain potential that it is a pity if we don't learn how to use it. It's really a pity.
Yeah, what I really want is at least a weekend conference that we can just continue talking and trying to how we're going to cover all this in an hour is nearly impossible. Go ahead, Dr. Goswami.
No, I was just going to say it is very difficult. But one thing, let me stress, because this is such a simple process that we can teach everybody in an hour, which is just simply to recognize that the base level physiology at the heart is actually that of the immune system. Immune system blocks everything else. Immune system is a defensive system. It immediately becomes activated whenever we meet somebody that we have no knowledge of. Okay, so you're saying, okay, this is the heart chakra that I'm talking about, and the thymus gland, that's part of the immune system. This is the gland that gives us the signal of this is a not me versus me. So you have to defend your me against this not me. So we get that defensive feeling, and that is such a barrier to love, that love cannot be awakened without momentary suspension of this defensiveness. In other words, love, you have to invite love by agreeing to be vulnerable. And this is what is lacking in today's society. People are too defensive. And when you allow a bit of vulnerability with the intention of loving the person that you have encountered and agree that that encounter is an invitation to an intimate relationship, so that should be done only with special people that you really, really want to know. But then when you do invite, then the heart takes a quantum leap. This is what we have proven. The heart takes a quantum leap and the physiology changes, and we are able to do things that we could not do before. Immune system becomes so healthy that it will never allow us to have cancer or heart disease. So this is such an easy thing to do. What Valentina has done with quantum yoga, she has more or less codified how to keep this quantum leap. Once it happens, keep it going, because the exercises, quantum yoga, will keep it in that quantum level of heart physiology forever and ever. So this is our invitation that, look, learn it. Learn it. And this is the base level physiological feeling. Okay. This is, oh, you don't have that picture. Show me another picture that you have. We sent you, I think, the newest picture too. That has both, no, that's all you sent?
I just showed it.
Okay,
No?
let's talk about, no, there's another picture, which is even better.
Let me see. I know I don't
Okay,
have it.
we can discuss that picture too.
Mhm.
So what I'm saying is that the base level emotions, base level feelings are just that. They give you base level feelings of defensiveness. They give you whenever say the heart defensiveness, vulnerability. These are the base level feelings. But when the heart takes a quantum leap, defensiveness changes into love. The primary emotion and feeling becomes love. That is such a major change. And similarly, okay, this one is self-worth actually comes with the quantum leap. So, so these are results of, this picture is a little mixed up, but this is self-worth is the result of advanced physiology and the when you wake up the heart, defensiveness changes into love. So that is also elevated physiology. And this is what creativity does. And the trick, of course, is that just because you took one quantum leap does not maintain that quantum condition of the body. So you have to continue certain processes. That's what Valentina calls quantum yoga, to maintain the body in that elevated physiology, maintain the yin-yang balance, maintain the ability to take occasional quantum leaps because the danger is too high, like the emotional stresses are very high. And that's how you keep the body in an elevated physiological condition that will not get this disease. Of course, there are other diseases as well, so this is not everything. And therefore, you have to pay attention to elevated conditions elsewhere as well. And some of these are a bit more, take a little more effort, but the heart takes the least bit of effort because it's already so much of it is already built into us. Our ancestors did the job for us partially. Romantic love is something that is available to anyone, provided you know a little bit about how to intend, how to open yourself, how not to be defensive. That vulnerability is the key to learning. And we can even teach you that. There are heart meditation that you talk about it, Valentina. You are the one that really are developing this.
Yeah, let's see what they say. What would you like us to talk about?
And I have not seen anything really in the chat. So I think our audience is probably just trying to absorb all of this. And it's even harder if you haven't had the privilege that I did first to read the book, because there's a lot of material, and I'm hoping this at least stirs enough passion and interest so people will do the work to read and learn more. It is something that I think is actually part of our service and incumbent on all of us. And part of that is to be as healthy as we can, so we can also then share our lives in loving and joyful ways of service. So it all ties together. I hear some of what you're talking about, especially in the last things you were saying, Dr. Goswami, that part of what can get those quantum leaps, is at least triggered it initially, would be through things that I'm currently also studying and are referred to so much, but the process of surrender and actually truly surrendering those conditioned beliefs and our quote unquote understandings of the world, and really making those kinds of transformative leaps. And that then has a direct also relationship, obviously, since everything is integrated into our physiology. And so is that a fair summation?
Yeah, except that, the word surrender will sound a little bit scary to people today, because they immediately think, well, that's too much. I won't go that far. So we have to set the proper context. The proper context is we become too attached to our so-called will. So if we open up the will, we are always willing in a very selfish manner. We are always willing to keep our consciousness constricted instead of expanded. This is the mistake we make. So first we have to free the will, and when the will is free, then not only I will my good, but also will your good, or at least be neutral about good coming to you as well. So when we open up the will like that, then surrendering just means that all the obstruction that I have created, I'm not putting up that anymore, including defensiveness. So I surrender to the movement of consciousness, which is always taking us to the good. But this does not mean that I surrender all my weapons I have when I need to defend somebody attacking me, not that kind of surrender. It's a surrender that we don't do to our intimate ones, because that's what really this emotional stress virtually is caused by people who are close to us. They're not coming from, war is not good, and some people do suffer because there is a war in Ukraine and so forth. But that's not really the concern. The problem is the war is happening inside of us, in our intimate relationship. That's where the emotional stress arises, and that's what you're talking about. The intimate enemy. To learn to surrender that defensiveness that comes when you're talking with your intimate person.
Right.
And that's it.
Amit, or actually, no. Would you like me to tell you a practice about this, which also refers to the 5 bodies?
I do, and I also want to. There are a couple of people that are indicating they want to come on.
Yes.
Yes. So, is this what you wanted?
Yeah, because it's a surrender, and it's triggering in me one of the most beautiful practices, because I'm more a bhakti person. Actually, Amit also, my devotional. So imagine we are scientists, spiritual scientists, medicine, but also totally devotional in the deepest core. And there is a beautiful practice in Kashmir Shivaism. It's called Shambhava Mudra. Don't complicate with the name now. It refers to a total surrender to a divine aspect. Can be God, can be Shiva, can be Jesus, can be anything, a higher archetype. And actually, you do that in order to identify completely with that aspect. Yeah, and it's an identification, which again that will help with any state that you have, any negative state, and it's really working. But you have to understand the practice. That's why let me 2 minutes to explain the principles, and then So you again, it can be done with any pleasurable state, but also with the suffering state, and all of that can transform instantly. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that it will dissolve a problem like a physical issue. It's an inner attitude. But what you want in quantum healing is a state of expansion of consciousness and a tap into supramental level. And this practice might just do that. Yeah. But again, whenever, especially an emotional problem, a difficult state, anything that will really stress you and make you suffer, whatever, it can really transform instantly. But again, it's at the highest core principles. Somebody has to mute herself, I think. You at the deepest levels, highest levels in this Kashmir Shivaism practice, you understand that nothing actually in reality is separating the divine from our heart. actually it's the divine presence is with us, not just in transcendence, you know. And in this practice, we want the unification between here and transcendence as well. And it requires almost no effort on our behalf. It's just a specific attitude and a way to relate to God, to attract grace. Because again, you want to practice love, right? You don't really need a partner necessarily. If the partner is not in your life, it doesn't mean that you cannot practice love, yeah? Because you have always the divine, yeah? And what means to completely, it's a surrender, but it has to be complete in this practice, which is poetical if you think of it, but it's also practical, and it implies to abandon ourselves entirely and unconditionally to God, yeah? And this should come out of pure aspiration, not out of personal desire. It's like, I want to get enlightened, I just found out that this practice is good. It's not working like that. It has to be selfless. And again, if your heart is pure, you can attract an overwhelming grace in any second, you know, and not having another particular goal, you know. So it's not with a personal desire, but also not with indifference, yeah, and not without caring what we do. We are fully in that attitude, but without the personal desires, you know. So it involves offering to God, yeah, or to any divine aspect, all that we experience in any moment, yeah, in that moment, yeah. So again, sometimes we may not be very proud of certain shady tendencies, yeah, but from God's perspective, actually all is light, you know, all is really perfect and pure light and non-dual, yeah. So everything that exists right now in our consciousness, thoughts, feelings, perception, gesture, everything, you know, all, you have to have this attitude, you know. Again, we are offering, now this is very brief presentation, yeah, we are offering everything, not just one thing, and we are offering everything that is here and now, not what you plan to do tomorrow. So exactly the content of our consciousness. So imagine a reservoir with a lot of things and a lot of thoughts coming and going constantly, perceptions from various bodies, yeah? So everything that is the content of your consciousness, various energies, reflections of all these bodies, layers of the being, yeah? From the most gross, primitive to the most refined, yeah? So you saw the picture, physical, energetic, or vital. Then the other, I'm not, yeah? So it's all kind of sensations you can perceive from various levels. For example, bodily sensations, the position of the body may create this pleasant or not, you know, what you see, what you hear. Pranayama kosha, the other body, the vital body, various states, shivers or butterflies in the stomach, you know, or common feelings, emotions, which are part of Manomaya kosha, or even various aesthetic experiences and states of love, which is Vijnanamaya kosha, the supramental level, happiness, ecstasy. All these are various layers. And the more we become aware of what's happening right now, the better, you know, because that's the content of what is here right now in our consciousness, yeah? There's nothing superior or inferior, it's just in our eyes, yeah? And again, this offering should not be sequential, you know, let's see what is now in my consciousness, you know, it's a never-ending list, yeah, which will always change. So what you do is like you're offering instantly in globally, you know, what is here and now, without letting the mind find out what is there, you know. So if you're able to do that, women might understand this easier, yeah. Because again, if you're doing it with your mind, it's not it's not this practice, you know, it's useless. Thinking with the mind may be saying that in a list, you know, it's not like that. Okay, so that's the simple practice. It has to be complete, not sequential, and it has to be at the end, you know, so you do it again unconditionally, without expecting something, in full freedom. Yeah, you cannot impose conditions. It's not a bargain. And even if in the beginning it may be difficult, if you don't have this bhakti nature, you will see there is a specific state of expansion which comes out of this identification. And then seriously, like in less than 1 minute, a certain negative state might really change. And then you can continue the practice. I'm offering also this state, you know, but especially you can practice this with anything which is intense, which is right now. You can do it even with the state of pain. It doesn't mean, again, that it will heal immediately the physical body, but it can be part of the creative process. I don't know if it makes sense to you, if you have questions about it.
Dee, was there something else you wanted to ask? And you have to unmute.
I don't even know how to formulate it. Your passion is just like an ocean of energy. So I'm trying to absorb it and process it. But I guess, so I didn't get the practice out of that. I got kind of is there a, and the, you know, I haven't read the book, and so the drawings don't mean a whole lot from what I saw yet. So is there some,
Yeah, I can tell you in
like
2 words.
what do you do? You know, do you sit and just watch an ocean in your mind, or is there just some little something we can take away? And that's just, you know, there's so much going on here on so many levels. So I understand your passion, and I understand why we're all over the map into all these different avenues. So I share that with you, and I was just wondering if there was a little take home, you know, something that we can all take away from this conversation today and ruminate on, or you know, just put into practice in our life. Just one little thing that maybe would shift for us in a good way. I mean, everyone can shift, you know, everyone can.
Okay, let's do it together.
Expand.
Let's close our eyes, close our eyes and keep the back straight. Take a deep breath, maintain the feet on the floor, the palms on your knees, relax the shoulders, and remain still. The body has to be still, no fidgeting. And simply take a deep breath, breathe in and out. Also pay attention that your abdomen is relaxed, it's very important. So breathe also with the abdomen, let the abdomen come up and down with your breathing. Bring some force in that area, in the belly area. Breathe in and out. Simply maintain the attention on the breathing, nothing else. When the mind comes in, don't fight it. Immediately bring back your attention simply to the breathing. This will make you connect with the physical body and with the present moment. You can scan your body simply with your mind and see if you have certain tensions in specific areas. And as you breathe in, bring on purpose the prana in those areas, direct it and intend for healing and relaxations of those contracted areas. Simply maintain yourself with the back straight, completely still, attentive to the breathing, connecting with your body, enjoying to be in your body. As you pay attention to the breathing, the air coming in and out, also connect with your heart in the middle of your chest as a lowering of your attention or your centering from the head into the heart, as if you fall like in the space of your heart. It's a daydreaming. You can also rub your palms vigorously and then place them on your chest. Pay attention to the vital energy coming on top of that process from the hands to your chest. Continue to breathe in and out. At the same time, maintain your attention in a relaxed way in the heart. Also expand your awareness and simply embrace the other participants right now, heart to heart. Perceiving the space of non-locality. And now let's set up the intent, which is very important when you are able to concentrate, to be attentive. You can set up an intent, which can be very strong when you have these conditions in place. A very strong intent for us to completely heal. So we set up the intent in the quantum style. So first of all, for ourselves. So this step starts from the ego level, from where you are right now. So you simply manifest with all your willpower, desire, aspiration, the strong and clear intent to heal yourself completely, to open yourself to complete healing, which implies the integration of all the dichotomies, higher levels of healing. And all your honesty and purity, maintaining the back straight, the body still, and the centering in your heart, and the abdominal breathing as well, bring the power of the belly together with your heart. The second step of the intent, we manifest the same intent for complete healing for all the participants here. Knowing that there is a deep state of brotherhood, sisterhood. There is a oneness that is awaiting to be awakened. And extend the same intent for complete healing for your families, even for your enemies or so-called enemies. And eventually for the entire humanity right now. An honest intent without expectation. The next step, we surrender this intent of healing to God. So knowing that all this will happen in the most appropriate way and time. And relax the palms, maintain the eyes closed, maintain the back straight. This was already a practice that you can take with you, but now let's do what I just told you about, this special practice where we offer totally, unconditionally all that exists in the content of our consciousness to God or to any divine aspect that you are related with. So now, as you sit with the back straight and the body still, centered as much as possible, connected with your body, try to see if there is any kind of contraction on any level. So try to feel it, not so much think of it. If, for example, your heart is contracted, if there's pain, if there's anything suppressed at the level of the heart, or anywhere in your body, if there is anything which is burden for you right now, and try to feel it, not so much think of it, as this is a content of all that we experience right now. So it's not yesterday, not tomorrow, right now, not 5 minutes ago. And all together, we offer it to any, again, an aspect of God that you may be familiar with. It can be Jesus, it can be God if you are familiar with the transcendent aspect. It can be Shiva, it can be a cosmic power, or it can be Virgin Mary, anything that you feel close to in your life. And simply offer all the content, all that you are right now, to this divine aspect. Entirely, not one by one, entirely And as you do that, you also will see that you will identify with that divine aspect. So let's do it in silence. Now you take a deep breath and come back slowly and try to move your body slowly, your neck, and try to perceive how you feel, if there's any change, if there's a certain state of expansion of consciousness, if you feel more easy. And again, if you got the taste of this practice, you can do it with what is right now. So in the same way. Okay, so this was it's another kind of practice, a spiritual practice. But it's something which for me, it helps a lot. You know, it's a lot to describe about this practice. But did you taste it? Did you get the feel of it? Okay. But what we did before, yeah, somebody's happy there. Joy. D with the t-shirt with the joy is very happy. Okay. And then it's very interesting to see how you can do the same with the wonderful pleasant state, you know, so it's really, really amazing. Okay, that's just an introduction.
That was beautiful, and it was a wonderful, unexpected turn, and something that I can't wait to share with more people. Thank you so much for that. Do you have time for one more question?
One more, yes.
Okay, Diane, if you want to briefly state a question, and Jonas.
Okay, good. I hate to ask a question on top of that. Thank you, Valentina and Amit. Amit, just very quickly, I became aware of your Self-Aware book many years ago through Dr. Fred Alan Wolf, who's a friend of myself and my husband Alan sitting here with me. Anyway, the question is about, in terms of a morphogenetic field of collective consciousness and the kind of mental, quote, mental illness that seems to be rampant, especially in younger generations today, can you give a short message about how this can work on a collective basis and as distinct from only individual?
Well, this is the good question, but short answer is difficult. The problem that we really have is the contracted consciousness is now such a general thing because addiction to not only negative emotions, now also to information processing, which also contracts consciousness. So all the mental anxiety, susceptibility to mental stress that we talked about, all of that virtually keeps people in a constant emotional agitation without them knowing it. In fact, why is somebody constantly looking at cell phone? It is because of a little bit of anxiety. You don't call it neurotic usually, but you could. So that is the kind of mindset we are working with. And to balance that, what we actually have started already doing, this is part of Valentina and our program in the educational, transformative educational degrees that we give, is to create an expansion of consciousness. So what we need to do is work in a group to develop collective practices so that all the practices that we do produce what we call non-local memory. And if enough people on the planet does that, then the two process of reincarnation, because non-local memory can be transferred from one generation to another through reincarnation. And so this process can, in matter of 6 or 7 generations, produce a substantial change in the humanity's collective unconscious. We have already started the work and other groups are also working. Unfortunately, we are not all coordinated. So a coordination has to happen, which will, I think, as the worldview changes from the Newtonian to quantum worldview, it will happen gradually. And then I think it can happen already through this work, that in 6 or 7 generations, like within the next 100 years, we may actually have a collective unconscious which will have not only this 5 times more negative than positive, but also equal negative and positive. Let's hope.
Beautiful. Thank you. Hopefully, my intent is it's a lot quicker than that, but that's so well said. Thank you so much, both, for the work that you're doing and the importance of really getting it out to especially the medical industry and teaching them about the multidimensionality of your theory. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Baron. So unfortunately, we have to wrap this up, and I know we could go on for quite a while, and this is only one of the many books they have. So want to kind of close to see, is there anything else that you wanted to make sure you shared first of all?
Oh, well, we would always invite people to our program. Valentina, you do that.
Yeah, we have a program. We're very happy for that. And it's a master and PhD program in quantum science. And it's mostly online, but it's also given the proximity. We have to meet in India, so it's a requirement. It's also what we want, but the Indian university we have affiliated with in India, they are requiring this, So it's a 10-day per year in India, which is a wonderful thing, So in proximity, that's where the transformation happens, because otherwise we can correlate online, but it's different, very different when we meet in physical as well, Then it's much easier to really actualize that oneness, which otherwise is not really actualized. We say we are one, but we are not until we really actualize it, So, and that we have afterwards groups of practice, but, and we have live webinars, Amit and me, and then some other people. We have live webinars for all the classes that are pre-recorded. And then there are some exams, so it's kind of going back to school. But I mean, when we stop learning, that's when we grow old, actually. Amit continues to learn. He's 87 years young. So that's a continuous transformation principle that he is really reflecting for me, for everybody. And it's really a beautiful program, Every single person has transformed, and I think everybody passed through also not so easy times, actually, because the more we transform, the more all kind of things come up, and you have to face them and go towards maturity and authenticity. So it implies also really a curious mind and some aspiration and a willingness, because I noticed that people, the more they are over 30, over 40, the egos are stronger, actually, so that's not so easy usually, because we think that we know everything, and actually nothing happens when we think that we know everything.
So yeah. So true. If you want to, please just send me links to the program and any other websites, and we'll put them in the program notes.
I will email you.
Yeah, so that's wonderful. So out of respect for your time again, and for everybody else that joined us, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I do hope it's just the beginning of many conversations. And I want to close with this. I had many quotes that I was thinking of using, but one that I saw that I'd never heard this translation, and it's so wonderful. Namaste, which in the book you say, which by the way, means I greet you from the place where you and I are one. That is the best translation I've heard. So namaste to you both and to everyone. Thank you again so much. And we look forward to hearing more from you and seeing you again, hopefully not too long.
Definitely, me too. Wonderful
Thank
to be
you.
with you.
Great.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. So you can kill. Yes, so she stopped the recording. So again, thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful night. And if you want to tell us what's about to happen to us, since we're just starting our days here, you can tell us the future since you've already had this day. But no, have a wonderful night. Congratulations again, Valentina. Happy birthday! And
Thank you. I'm just starting now the meditation.
and having the chance.
So we can meet soon, so if you want to meet soon, we can do it in March, because after that it will be a busy program until for a while, traveling. But at March, if you want, after the 10th of March until the end of March, we can plan another meeting if you want.
That could certainly work. We don't have anything scheduled for March. We'll talk amongst ourselves.
I know you asked some things and we didn't get to discuss those, but if not, later in June.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll work it out.
Okay,
It is-
we'll work it.
I'm very
Right.
happy to
Okay.
meet you.
Thank
Beautiful
you.
people.
Yes. Thanks again so much. It's just been a joy.
Present for my
All
birthday.
the best.
Bye.